as I got everything ready for my daughter's surprise graduation party. I found myself thinking back on our family's journey. Raising 3 kids on my own after the divorce was challenging, but it was those hardships that brought us closer and made moments like these even more special. I was humming a tune, busy with the party setup, when someone showed up at our door. In the midst of it all, I considered sending my son, Anthony, to stall for a bit more time. But when I opened the door, I was greeted by an unexpected visitor. "Hey there," he greeted with a casual wave, looking so disheveled he could be mistaken for someone without a home. I froze, speechless. "Dad?" The voice snapped me out of it, and I turned to see my children staring at the man, Mark, with a mix of shock and disbelief. Karen, my daughter, outright rejected Anthony's attempt to acknowledge the man, insisting he was no longer part of our family and ushering Anthony back inside. Mark, trying to reclaim a place in our lives, boasted arrogantly about taking care of us again. His words hung in the air, absurd and out of place, prompting laughter from us, though his confusion soon turned to anger as he ranted about not being mocked. "What's all this noise? What's happening?" Another voice joined in, curious about the commotion outside. With a deep breath, I decided it was time to confront my ex-husband decisively. "Let me introduce you to our lives now. I'm Andrea, a 35-year-old who juggles being a stay-at-home mom and working remotely. Even though life hasn't turned out exactly as I expected, I have built a good career in an engineering advertising firm, nurtured important relationships, and found joy in my life. Our mornings are full of energy. Between my middle school son, Anthony, asking why I didn't wake him up sooner, and my high school daughter, Karen, who does well in school but is timid when it comes to romance. Mark, my husband, who was once my mentor at work, now often gets caught up in his phone, leaving me to manage the household's bustling dynamics. Through these ordinary moments and unexpected challenges, our family navigates life's complexities, drawing strength from each other and finding joy in the journey, no matter how unpredictable it may be. When I first met him, he was earnest, yet his lack of attention to detail and unreliability in crucial moments were apparent. Back then, I never saw him in a romantic light, but his persistence eventually led me down the aisle, marking the first time I acknowledged my susceptibility to persuasion. Recently, Mark earned a promotion to manager, necessitating more business trips. While I'm proud of his achievement, his evasive answers about his return dates and his irritable dismissal of my attempts to offer comfort, like shoulder massages, have been disheartening. At home, he's constantly on his phone, diminishing our family interactions, and he often returns late, even outside of his business travel schedule. I've hesitated to question his late nights, avoiding confrontation. Today, like many times before, he's vague about his trip details. His sporadic homecomings are treated as ordinary, expecting meals on demand. My gentle inquiry about his return was met with an explosive response, chilling the once peaceful atmosphere. Shocked, I barely held onto a plate, apologizing for my question, only to watch him leave the room with a mix of anger and guilt, not uttering a single word. As he slammed the door behind him, my attempt to discuss finances was cut off, leaving an unsettling silence in his wake. Karen, noticing the tension, turned to me while Anthony's grip on his mug betrayed his anxiety. I attempted to diffuse the situation, blaming myself for adding stress to Mark's already heavy workload. Karen, ever supportive, reassured me it wasn't my fault, her embrace offering a brief solace amidst my swirling emotions. Realizing it was time for school, I urged my children to leave, catching only muffled words from Anthony as he hurried out, leaving a trail of dust behind. Karen's backward glance, filled with concern, met my forced smile, a smile that couldn't mask the lingering unease. After they left, the silence felt as oppressive as a dark, isolated cave, amplifying the echo of Mark's harsh departure. The quiet house, now void of its usual morning chaos, seemed to hold the weight of his words, a stark reminder of the distance growing between us. In the face of adversity, I've learned to push aside the negative feelings, sometimes even giving myself a little pep talk to stay motivated. With Mark no longer contributing financially, it's on me to ensure our children have everything they need. Drawing from my past experience, I've embarked on a career as a graphics designer. The income isn't always predictable, but my determination to provide for my family keeps me going. I remind myself, to stand strong. Even as I finish up the laundry, enjoying the beauty of a day marked by a single cloud in the sky, and humming tunes from my youth to keep the spirits high. Mark's frequent business trips have become the norm, with his returns home before the late hours becoming increasingly rare. When I tentatively ask about his late nights, his responses are dismissive, leaving no room for discussion. His communication has dwindled to brief, cold exchanges, a stark contrast to the partner I once knew. His indifference as he walks away leaves me momentarily stunned, but I quickly regather my composure. My primary concern now shifts towards our financial stability, acknowledging the reality that I cannot rely on Mark for support. I've managed to organize our finances into 4 separate accounts, one for my graphics designer income and daily expenses, another for the mortgage payments to Trust Bank, and a third reserved for absolute emergencies. While the first account is currently stable, the thought of the long-term mortgage payments brings a sense of dread. I avoid dwelling on this, choosing instead to focus on the immediate tasks at hand. However, upon checking the rarely accessed emergency account, I'm confronted with an unexpected and unfamiliar withdrawal. The discovery is unsettling, sparking concerns of potential fraud, especially since my children are unaware of these accounts. The possibility of a scam crosses my mind, but the selective withdrawal pattern doesn't fit. This prompts a deeper worry, bringing to mind a suspicion that's hard to shake off. As I grapple with this new financial mystery, I also confront the personal toll of these stresses. My failing eyesight not helped by presbyopia, the fine lines marking the passage of time, and the lasting marks from too many nights fallen asleep at the desk. Yet, in this moment of reflection, I decide to stop being harsh on myself. Instead, I face reality head-on, focusing on resolving the financial anomaly and preparing for whatever challenges lie ahead, with or without Mark's support. My resolve to protect and provide for my family, despite the uncertainties, remains unwavering. It seems like a distant dream for Mark to come home while the daylight still graces the sky, almost as unlikely as expecting a sudden hailstorm tomorrow. As I watch over the chicken sizzling on the grill, I can't help but brace myself for the inevitable critique from Mark at dinner, lamenting the meal's lack of excitement. Cooking and moments alone used to offer brief respites from my daily worries, but now they're overshadowed by a growing sense of dread. I've been mulling over how to confront Mark about the mysterious withdrawal from our emergency fund. With the kids usually sequestered in their rooms until dinner, I thought I might have a chance to broach the subject tonight, but finding the right words felt daunting. Just as I was wrestling with my thoughts, Mark excused himself to the bathroom, leaving me torn between relief at avoiding a difficult discussion and frustration at missing an opportunity. His phone, left behind on the table, buzzed with a notification, displaying a name I didn't recognize. The temptation to investigate was overwhelming, especially knowing Mark would be occupied for a while. With a racing heart, I edged closer to the table and caught a fleeting glimpse of the message, only to be interrupted by footsteps. Hastily, I returned the phone to its spot as my son, Anthony, inquired about dinner. I reassured him it would be ready shortly, my mind racing with the knowledge that tonight's dinner complaints might extend beyond the culinary. Later, with the house enveloped in silence and my family asleep, I couldn't shake off the urge to delve deeper into the mystery of that message. Driven by a mix of duty and apprehension, I tiptoed out of my room, motivated by the need to uncover the truth. Mark's snoring confirmed he was deep in slumber, thanks in part to the beer I'd encouraged him to have with dinner. Navigating the dimly lit hallway, I approached Mark's room, the air thick with the scent of alcohol. I pressed on, determined not to let the unpleasant smell deter me. Reaching his bedside, I eyed the phone, its cable a lifeline from the outlet. I knew unplugging it would awaken the screen, potentially revealing more than I was prepared for. Yet the need for answers guided my trembling hands. In the quiet of the night, with my heart heavy and hands trembling, I carefully disconnected Mark's phone from its charger. Pressing the screen to my chest, I ensured it remained dark as I tiptoed back to my sanctuary, my room. The tears I hadn't realized were threatening spilled over as I gently wiped them away with my pajama sleeve. Turning on the phone, a flood of emotions washed over me, as I searched for the messages that had haunted my thoughts. The conversation with Bruce was worse than I feared. Plans for future trips, casual mentions of using my savings, a betrayal that cut deep. Reading their exchange, a chilling calm settled over me. Their words, plans, and stolen moments captured in photographs made my previous worries seem almost naive. I returned the phone to its charging cable beside a sleeping Mark, my movements silent and deliberate. The next morning, as I prepared breakfast with an unusual smoothness, Mark appeared, disheveled and unaware of the storm brewing within me. My greeting was icy, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the rising sun. His casual inquiry about breakfast halted as I confronted him with the reality of his actions and the existence of Bruce. The confrontation escalated quickly from disbelief to anger. His reaction to my declaration for a divorce, a plate thrown in anger, shattering behind me, marked the end of any semblance of civility. My children, drowned by the noise, witnessed the aftermath of his fury. Karen's quick thinking to record the confrontation and Anthony's silent preparedness with a baseball bat underscored the gravity of the situation. Despite the tension, I urged caution, fearing for their safety. The day's events were overwhelming, leading to a professional setback as I had to request an extension for the first time. When Mark returned, he nonchalantly placed divorce papers on the table, his actions final and devoid of any warmth that once existed between us. My children's support for the divorce, evident in their readiness to protect and stand by me, was a small comfort in the face of such profound betrayal and upheaval. This painful chapter, marked by confrontation and the stark reality of divorce, underscored the resilience and unity of my family. Despite the fear and uncertainty, the strength to move forward came from the support we found in each other, ready to face a new beginning, however daunting it may seem. The decision to divorce felt like stepping into unknown waters. I was apprehensive, unsure if I could shoulder the financial responsibilities alone. Yet, after opening up to Karen and Anthony about my concerns, we found unity in our resolve. Karen offered to contribute with her part-time job earnings, and Anthony volunteered for more household duties. Accepting their help wasn't easy, but it was our way forward, together. 2 weeks after, this heartfelt family discussion. The absence of Mark brought a surprising sense of relief. My worries persisted, yet the atmosphere at home became lighter, more bearable. With legal advice, we finalized the divorce, stepping into a new chapter that, despite its challenges, felt refreshingly hopeful. 2 years on, the journey hadn't been easy. Karen juggled her studies with work, a sacrifice that, despite my protests, kept us afloat. When her exam results didn't meet our hopes, the weight of guilt was heavy on my shoulders. Yet, she stood firm, owning her decisions with maturity beyond her years. Anthony's adeptness in managing household chores lightened the load considerably, though not without its moments of familial tension, especially concerning laundry duties. Reflecting on these 2 years, it's clear that life post-divorce tested us in ways we hadn't anticipated. But together, we've navigated through the toughest times. Preparing a special dinner to celebrate Karen's acceptance into medical school, I'm filled with pride and gratitude. This celebration is more than just her academic achievement. It's a tribute to our collective resilience and support for one another. As I'm setting up for our small party, the unexpected arrival of Mark interrupts the preparations. His disheveled appearance and mismatched clothes take me aback. My children's reaction to him, a mix of rejection and astonishment, underscores the distance and changes in our lives. Mark's attempt to reinsert himself into our lives, met with disbelief and laughter from us, highlights the absurdity of his expectation. The disruption he causes is a stark reminder of the journey we've embarked on since our separation. Yet, as we stand together, facing whatever comes our way, it's clear that our strength as a family lies not in the absence of challenges, but in our unwavering support for each other. Gathering my composure, I stood tall and introduced Frank, my husband, to the unexpected visitor, Mark. Although I hadn't previously mentioned Mark's name to Frank, the introduction led to a tense moment as everyone gauged each other's reactions. Frank, with a courteous smile, revealed his role as the president of a key client company where Mark was employed. Their acquaintance seemed familiar to Frank, but Mark feigned ignorance, a situation that became awkward following Frank's pointed comments about Mark's recent professional missteps. Mark's denial and claims of infidelity were met with my calm yet firm correction. Our divorce was legally binding, debunking his baseless accusations. His demands for alimony were turned on their head when I presented evidence of his financial betrayal. The misappropriation of funds from an account that was meant for emergencies, containing a substantial inheritance from my late parents. Confronted with undeniable proof of his actions, including a potential charge of forgery for illicitly withdrawing money without my consent, Mark was cornered into a settlement. He agreed to pay back the $50,000 he wrongly took and commit to alimony payments, a resolution that was both relieving and bittersweet. Reflecting on these developments over coffee, I pondered the future of these alimony payments. The incident had profoundly affected Mark's life. His financial misconduct led him to juggle multiple low-paying jobs to meet his obligations. Frank's decision to sever ties with Mark's employer over ethical concerns was a stance I initially thought too severe. But Frank assured me it was justified, emphasizing the importance of integrity in business and personal dealings. This chapter, marked by a blend of vindication and contemplation, highlighted the resilience required to navigate life's unexpected turns. It was a reminder of the strength found in standing up for oneself, the complexities of human relationships, and the sometimes harsh realities of consequences and redemption. Watching Frank's stern reaction to Mark's professional downfall left me with mixed feelings. Mark's life had taken a steep dive after losing a major client and subsequently his job. Now, struggling to stay afloat financially, he looked worn, his days of prosperity reflected only in the past tense. Mark's sarcastic inquiry about Bruce only added to the grim picture, revealing her departure after accumulating a hefty debt, for which Mark, as the guarantor, was left to bear the burden alongside the alimony payments to me. Despite everything, I found myself feeling a pang of sympathy for Mark, even as he inquired about our children. Karen's success in medical school and the adversities she faced, alongside Anthony's newfound determination to specialize in legal matters, particularly infidelity, painted a picture of resilience and growth born from hardship. Mark's remark about my marriage to Frank, suggesting a begrudging gratitude, brought back memories tinged with both fondness and regret. His old habit of touching, his earlobe in embarrassment reminded me of simpler times before life's complexities unfolded. The encounter ended with a polite gesture of Mark offering to pay his share, but I handled the bill swiftly, leaving no room for debate. As we parted ways, the thought of my upcoming doctor's appointment and the news of expecting Frank's child filled me with anticipation. Karen and Anthony's reactions to the pregnancy news, a blend of shock, concern, and eventual support, highlighted the ever-present bond and care within our family. Frank's suggestion to take a break from freelancing during the pregnancy was met with my desire to continue working, a compromise reached with a mix of determination and negotiation. Passing a joyful family on my way to the doctor, I reflected on my own happiness, a feeling of contentment enveloping me as I embraced the next chapter of our lives. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but it was these moments of love, resilience, and new beginnings that painted a picture of hope and fulfillment.